Let's talk about Monday Night Raw. So we kicked off with Rhea Ripley in the ring. They didn't do a big 15-minute talkie segment. I thoroughly enjoyed Raw overall. I actually thought it was fairly decent. So when we had Rhea come down to the ring, she's dealing with everything with the Kabuki Warriors and Io Sky. Io, by the way, when she came out, big pop for Io. Io was leaving, Kabuki Warriors come in, and Asuka, who's kind of manipulating Kairi Sane through all this, they start taking down Rhea Ripley. And then when Io tries to go in, save Rhea, Asuka just splash Miss Io Sky right into the face. Slight miss with the kick there, where you had Asuka trying to hit Rhea Ripley in the head with a kick. It just didn't look that great. And then I love Kairi Sane's giant elbow that she did to take out Rhea Ripley. This is probably my favorite storyline that they're building to Crown Jewel, because now it is going to be the tag team match, Rhea and Io going up against Kabuki Warriors. The main thing I really do like is how Kairi Sane is stuck in this. She's having to do these things, like doing the big elbow because Asuka's making her. She's so reluctant in all of this. I feel like it's going to be a very interesting story once it plays out after Crown, even Survivor Series, what they might end up doing there. I wonder when that turn is going to happen from Kairi Sane. I know we're all focused on Asuka and Rhea and Io, but everyone is playing their parts really well. Asuka's tremendous in this, just being the big veteran bad guy that it's you should all fall in line to me. I just love how they're positioning this. I like that Rhea is not in the big world title scene right now. It frees it up. But the big piece for me is going to be Kairi Sane and all this. Can she break out? Because what I can see happening is she has more of the, I'm going to say Jey Uso role from the Bloodline. I see elements there where it's this Roman Reigns Jey Uso relationship, Asuka Kairi Sane comparison, because Roman always had Jey under his thumb of do it, do this, hit him with a chair, do all these dastardly things that Jey was always reluctant, hesitant to do, but he had to fall in line because of the tribal chief. This feels similar, and I like that because you're getting Kairi Sane to maybe break out. Even when it was Chad Gable and Otis, similar idea, making Otis do things that he didn't want to do, and eventually just saying no, and the crowd goes insane. So for Kairi Sane, I can see them really positioning her as a breakout once this feud unravels, because you'll get the one-on-one matches of this is what's cool about it, is you can get one-on-ones of Asuka, Rhea, you can get Io and Asuka, obviously, and then once the breakup finally happens, now you've got Kairi Sane and Asuka. Rusev, Dom Mysterio, IC title. Not the longest match in the world, but you know what? The ending was the best for me. It's Eddie Guerrero style. I love what they're doing with Dom throughout all of this. Dom Mysterio is he's becoming a babyface throughout all of this. He really is. And the timing on this was so good because you had Dom throw the title belt at Rusev and do the bump, and the ref was clearly looking at him. I love that they got that timed out so well. So the ref, I was oh, the ref clearly saw that. And then he's I saw what you just did. And then they get into the corner, low blow from Dom to Rusev, and he gets a roll up on Rusev. This was a great way to finish it because you know that Rusev should be able to just demolish this guy. He should just be able to like Bane and just break his back in half. And it's Dom getting the cheeky wins and victories out of this. Dom being a double champion too is hilarious. So what's funny too is the crowd reaction. Dom did the low blow, they did the Eddie Guerrero spot, and Dom does the low blow and gets the roll up, and the crowd popped because Rusev's a bad guy. Dom is also supposed to be a bad guy, but he's doing the fun things that Eddie Guerrero would do, and it works for him. I want to see even more of this. The more Dom leans into this, he's going to break off and become just a huge babyface at some point. Okay, the next one, I want to talk about Bayley, Raquel, Lyra Valkyria, because he had backstage segments of Lyra and Bayley. And in this match, you had Raquel go over, Roxanne getting involved, and Lyra gets involved at the end. So we should be getting that tag team match of Bayley and Lyra going up against Roxanne and Raquel at some point, which I wonder, are they going to lean into the women's tag team titles with Bliss and Charlotte? And maybe that's at Survivor Series where you can have Bayley and Lyra going up against them, against the champions. And then you get the kind of, the Jekyll and Hyde version of tag team champions, Bayley and Lyra getting those belts. But I'm not sure how I'm enjoying this Bayley thing. I was enjoying, okay, you had the vignettes, then you have the split personality thing. I worry about how far they can go with this, how many weeks you can keep doing Bailey's got voices in her head and siding with Lyra, and then Lyra not sure like what version of Bailey she's gonna get. I just wonder how many weeks they're gonna go playing into this. The issue with a character like this to me is it has a shelf life. At some point, Bailey has to go bad or go good, and the split head thing isn't gonna work anymore. At what point do they pull the trigger on that? Like, how do you kind of get out of it? I worry that they're gonna write themselves into a corner where Bailey is just gonna become just super goofy and off the rails. I don't know. It's a fun idea. I'm just kind of wondering what's the end game for all of this. I think it's gonna be them becoming tag team partners once again, and then maybe even splitting and feuding so you can get the one-on-ones and maybe get the title involved. In between there, you also had LA Knight going up against Kofi Kingston. Poor LA Knight. I like Kofi Kingston, and I like the New Day right now because they're just silly heels. But poor LA Knight. Like, he's talking about, like, I'm gonna be world champion, and he's nowhere near that right now. I know you can't have everyone going for the belt. I just wish that he was, personally. And I know they can kind of spin him back up again, but it's a lot of like what happened with LA Knight on SmackDown. US title, US champion, stop doing that, and then he flirts with it, and then they roll him back down again. And now what is he doing? He's still trying to get back to being involved in the title, and he's in this thing with Kofi, and it could be one off where he's fighting Kofi Kingston. It should be, but I hope this isn't what LA Knight's doing, where he's got to battle New Day, Grayson Waller, and then maybe eventually get back up to the title scene, because you also have the likes of Jey Uso, for example. He's still going for that title. LA Knight, and he made this point in the backstage thing with Adam Pearce, he's like, he beat Seth Rollins, so he's kind of waiting and wanting to get back to the title scene. I think it would be good if you still had LA Knight just doing the interactions with guys like Seth and Braun and Bronson. I know we don't want more schmozzy finishes and getting the DQ endings to Raw, where it's a combination of those guys. They're stepping away from that, which is great. But I feel like you could still have LA Knight have a match with Kofi, but then go and get a backstage confrontation with Seth, so we still have it kind of there, and then it doesn't feel like it's gonna be thrown together later on. Now, throughout the night, we did have the big, like, chapter 1 story sit down of Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes. I like this. I don't know about you. Did you like it? Did you not like it? And then we led into the promo of Seth and Cody. I'd love to know your thoughts. So comment below and let me know what you thought about the whole segment, and including this promo stuff that they did, all the pre-film stuff. I like it. I like when they do this. You get that context, that refresh of their feud, Cody coming back to WWE, the relationship, and leading all the way to Mania 40. And then they layer on top of it with the promo in the ring. This I did like. I like their first one when they're talking about it. And what I like about it is that you're getting more context, more motivation for these two going at it at Crown Jewel. Because what I didn't like about Crown Jewel last year, where it was Gunther versus Cody, it's just, who's better champion, who's better fighter, I can beat you. There was nothing there. What works so well here for me is that you do have a huge history of Seth and Cody. So turning that on is super easy, and you can buy into all of it. And then they're going to split off again after Crown Jewel. And it's less about the championship, the Crown Jewel champion. And I like that. It's Seth needs to get that win over on Cody. Cody not really needing to do that, and really thinking like, why does it have to be like this? Like, we were friends, and Seth's turning his back on that. It adds Seth to being more of a bad guy, which he needs. Like, he's already the big dastardly vision leader, but knowing that he's now like, no, I'm not your friend, I never was, and he's very defiantly going in this direction, I think it works well for his character. That's why I feel like at Crown Jewel, I think Seth needs to win. It's Cody effing Rhodes. Cody could just be a 2-time Crown Jewel champ. He's like MJF with the Dynamite Diamond ring. Like, he just wins that thing all the time. Cody, I think he was wearing his Crown Jewel ring, by the way. He's got the belt again. He's a 2-time. I mean, it's in Perth, so it's not in Saudi. I think Saudi likes having Cody win. Perth, I could see like Seth getting that victory over Cody. And then maybe that leads into, if there's bad guy finish, like Becky gets involved and attacks Cody, it could result in War Games being set up where Cody's on Team Punk, because he wants to get revenge on Seth again. So where you could have Cody and Punk, AJ Lee, Jey Uso, Roman Reigns. There's like a 5-man team. Jimmy, I don't know where Jimmy would be. We'll talk about that in a second. Going up against the Vision and maybe somebody else. Here's the funny thing though about the promo. You do have Cody talking about Brock. I like, and bringing it to Seth, of like, and Seth saying, I knew, or I know everything that's going on with everything. But obviously, like, there could be the doubt in there. I'm like, well, Seth didn't know that Paul Heyman was going to go and do the introductions for Brock Lesnar. People are asking about it. We talked about this on SmackDown too, where they were in the ring. And Paul Heyman on SmackDown is saying, like, he's just the GOAT. I like that they have introduced and sprinkled in Brock. I know we've had Cody and Brock. We've gone down that path. But where it could be interesting and they kind of sidestep a little bit is we might end up with a Brock Cody feud once again. Now, with the championship involved. I don't really want that. I saw what happened with Cena. Everyone dogpiled it. Like, it wasn't great. I do not need to see Brock as champion, but I can see WWE doing that. If they need a program for Brock that is at the top, you might be inserting him into the Cody stuff with Paul Heyman being involved and Seth. It's an interesting dynamic because then you might get some friction between Heyman and Seth and Brock. Now, you did have AJ Styles and Dragon Lee pick up a victory over El Grande Americano team. And then he had the big tag team match at the end. Jimmy and Jay doing the rematch against Braun Bronson, Dog Barker, Tsunami Man, which all led to the very ending where you did have the spears, the beatdowns, and then Roman Reigns makes his return. Now, I like the ending where Roman and Jay are shaking hands and Jimmy is framed in the middle. And I like this because Jay's all fired up for having Roman come out and make the save and support them. And Jimmy's not like against that, right? But Jimmy and Jay and their attitude, and Jay's attitude specifically backstage before the match too. You know, Jay is getting more onto that aggressive side. Like, he's still wanting that world title. He don't care about anybody. Everyone's in his way. Roman comes out and it's like Jay looks up to Roman once again of like, that's how you do it. That's how you get stuff done. Cherish by any means necessary. They're in your way. I wonder if they will play, how much they will play into this. Again, that framing of Roman and Jay shaking hands and Jimmy is framed in the middle is, I love that. Because you're telling me that Jimmy is stuck in the middle of this and he's witnessing Jay aligning with more of tribal chief mentality. And then you have the whole bloodline history of everything of they went through all of this, of Roman just being this dominant leader and everyone having to fall in line and the betrayals and all this different stuff and all the manipulation and all for the sake of Roman Reigns being on top. And Jay maybe wanting to do that his way, become a version of a tribal chief where he's gonna just do whatever it takes. I really do like this. It adds way more dimension for Jey Uso. You notice that there's a lot less of the yeeting, just full out, like, go to the crowd, run it back. We're moving away from that. This is good. Not only from just how much freaking time it takes to do the whole entrance stuff, but it's part of the story. That's a good thing. Sure, you want the crowd, they want that crowd engagement, but I wonder if WWE is starting to listen because they're getting to Survivor Series, and then, as they have said themselves, Triple H is like, around Survivor Series, we start making plans for Mania. You know, we got Stone Cold Steve Austin slotted in for WrestleMania. I wonder if they do listen a little bit and realize, you know what, all the eating stuff is great, but we got to tell more of this story. So I like that they are cutting things back a little bit. I'll probably do a separate video on just kind of current state of WWE because we've all talked about how there's stuff that we don't like. I've listed off and rambled off of a million things. Everyone's got problems everywhere. You know, there's stuff to like, there's stuff not to like. I get it. But there are some pluses here that I'm noticing where the introductory things of Raw, you know, Rhea starting things off is different. The previous week we had Rhea and Asuka main event. There's been some pluses where they've shaken up the formula a little bit. And Roman coming in, sure, is going to pop the crowd, and that's all cool. It's how do they deliver the next week and the week after? What are we going to get at Crown Jewel, though? Is it going to be Braun Bronson versus Jay and Roman? We already did that. What are you going to do Roman Reigns versus Braun Breaker? That was in my early predictions, is that's the match. Because then you get Bronson Reed in his corner and Paul Heyman and Jimmy and Jay in Roman's corner. They're going to want Roman Reigns in a big match. Does he go in another tag team match? I don't think so. They don't have a third man, brother, to go with Braun and Bronson against the Usos and Roman. So it's got to be, to me, it's got to be a Roman one-on-one match against Braun Breaker. That's the next one. frankly, that to me, that's a big match. That I don't know if that's Crown Jewel, if that's like Survivor Series, or that's Royal Rumble, if you ask me, because you want to build up Braun Breaker. So we'll see what happens there. But what did you think of Raw and the ending to Raw? Did it work for you? If you guys want to talk more WWE, I'd love it if you would go and check out this video right here. Have yourself a great day. Subscribe to the channel if you can. See ya.